Watch this. As doctors and nurses continue to see deaths from the pandemic firsthand, we're now hearing from a different side, a flower shop, one that continues to churn out arrangements for several COVID funerals a week. Just about a month out from Thanksgiving, so are events going on as scheduled, or will we be seeing more virtual events this holiday season? The Fosbury Flop is now the standard for all high jumpers, and on the 53rd anniversary of his gold medal winning performance, we're taking a look back at this current Blaine County Commissioner's Olympic run. It's an understatement to say that COVID has affected us all in some way or another. Every single one of us has had our life altered because of the outbreak of COVID-19. You ever think back to your life in 2019? It seems like a whole different life at this point. Now, everyone has a story, a different perspective on what we're all going through. And to be honest, no two experiences, they're not exactly the same. It's hard to step into each other's shoes at this point. And the effects of COVID on the community are seen on a daily basis in some of our local businesses. Take a flower shop in Eagle, for example. The pulse of the community there has changed in recent weeks.
Hope Blooms, this is Chadwick. How can I help you?
When the phone rings in the flower shop,
Did we get any tulips?
it usually means one thing.
We have pink.
A life event has happened in the community.
We're in the business of emotions. We sell emotions. We help people express emotions, not flowers. That's what we do. And so, yeah, we do get the stories, good and bad. We get them all.
Since the beginning of the pandemic in early 2020, this shop, Hope Blooms in Eagle, has seen a surge in people wanting to send flowers for one reason or another.
People can't get out as much still, and they can't see each other, and they want to, say I love you. It's a good way to do it is with flowers.
In recent weeks, though, shop owner Dorothy Miller says the calls into the store are missing the usual balance of happy and sad events.
The other day, I think from 7 in the morning till about 1 in the afternoon, every single call was a funeral. And every single walk-in was a funeral.
Handling flower arrangements for funerals is not new to this team, but Miller says the recent COVID trend has changed the volume and types of calls they're getting. More and more, the team listens to tragic stories about COVID deaths.
The last 2 weeks, I had 2 sisters come in, and they both lost their husbands within a week. And that was tough because one sister's now trying to support the other sister.
The emotions the team here sees from customers grieving a death is also changing.
Usually people will come in and they're sad and they're upset, but the last couple weeks, Joe, that people have come in and they're mad. They're just mad at the whole process and the whole thing that's going on, and they just are having a hard time wrapping their heads around, my husband was coughing 3 days ago and now he's gone.
Miller says that for whatever reason, the emotions of it all hits people while they're in the shop.
So a lot of times they come in here and they just cry. We just let them sit and cry as long as they need to. And, we're definitely not grief counselors, but we listen, so it's tough.
You're very welcome. Have a good rest of your day.
And it's tough in a way that's different than it was pre-COVID.
Usually we're able to really compartmentalize. Here's a happy birthday call, a happy anniversary call, and then a funeral walks in. Normally we're able to kind of put that, into its little place and deal with each one individually.
But the stories and emotions add up through a day or a week. The staff here really learns about the lives of those lost and the impact that loss has on family and friends.
We get sad later. We have to get sad later, but it affects each and every person here every time they take a phone call. It's tough.
Another really serious note from the Hope Blooms team. They tell us that they've noticed just through their work an uptick in suicides in the community. And this remains a very challenging time for many in our community. And it's important to note and reflect that fact. If you or someone you know needs help or just someone to talk to, there are great resources available right now in our community. One resource, you can call or text the Idaho Suicide Prevention Hotline at 208-398-4357. The hotline is available 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. And it's not only a person in crisis who can call the line. A friend or a loved one of a person in crisis can also reach out too. There's also great access to mental health resources around the Treasure Valley, and we actually have an aggregate of all of that on our website at ktvb.com. You can look for the Hello Idaho page there. Well, the number of hospitalizations has been coming down in recent weeks as we continue to battle COVID, dropping from 669 to 573 cases in 1 week. Well, the decline in hospitalizations, though, is not sharp enough for some event organizers to bring back events in person. Halloween, Thanksgiving, Christmas, all just around the corner, and so are many other holiday events. But again, a majority of them will be virtual. But at least one says they are willing to adopt the city protocols if it means that they can hold their event in person. Here's our Katya Stepovic.
Tis the season of holiday floats, marathons, and gatherings.
It is the 2019 Boise Holiday Parade.
But for a second year in a row now, COVID-19 is forcing many holiday events to take to the screen.
You know, it's sad because, we've been planning it. It takes 9 months.
This year, the Boise Holiday Parade will skip downtown and march all the way to your living room.
Why don't we do something virtually? And the reason is to keep the parade in the minds of the people for another year.
Roger Lingle, the president of the Boise Holiday Parade, says after manning the floats for 22 years, the risk of holding the event in person was greater than any reward.
So we felt it was just the right time and the safe thing to do.
But that's not the case for the 5K Thanksgiving Day Turkey Trot in Boise, who will have virtual options, but will take their runs live in person in not one, but 2 locations this year.
Just everything I've seen and all the experts that I've talked to, the risk with outdoor events is so minimal.
Although the CDC says outdoor activities are safer than events in crowded indoor spaces, Turkey Trot is within city limits, which means they will need to adhere to the city's COVID-19 protocols by checking for negative COVID tests or proof of vaccination prior to the event, and having all participants fully masked until they start the race.
Most small event companies aren't set up to legally handle people's personal medical information. So when we're collecting COVID vaccine information, the COVID test results, we have to hire a third party, an outside company that's licensed to handle that and store that data.
In addition to the extra expense, Keith Hughes, the event director, says the event is taking another hit by the low levels of registered runners.
The biggest thing we get is I'd love to do the event, but it's such a hassle having to find my COVID vaccine, scan it, upload it. It's just a hassle for people. So people are just skipping events.
He expects to see registration anywhere from 30 to 55% below normal.
Turkey Day is typically large enough that we can absorb that and still survive. But just with the restriction in place, we are anticipating a fairly large loss on this event this year.
We know that a few of the protocols may come with additional cost. And we understand that from an event organizer position. At the end of the day, it really is about fighting this disease, making sure that we don't increase community spread, and protecting our community.
Maria Weg, the director of community engagement for the city of Boise, says the city is sticking with their protocols that they placed for large events back in September, so long as local medical experts continue to tell them to.
I know it's frustrating. We just have to be in it together and have a little bit more patience and really do the things that we know work. Vaccines work. Masking works, physical distancing works. All of those things work. If we saw more people doing that more diligently, we'd be a lot closer to this pandemic being over.
She added that most event organizers like Lingle are not opting to go virtual because of the city's protocols, but rather because they feel like it's the best decision for the sake of the community.
Bringing people downtown might not be the best thing to do with all the hospital rooms in capacity, even though we're sad about not having the parade in person. We just know it's the right thing to do.
And Katya, I know you were calling across the Treasure Valley today to check on different events that people look forward to every year. And I'm curious, do we know other virtual events coming up?
Well, I don't have it confirmed that majority of them are virtual, but just in doing my own research, I listed a few, and we'll pull that up on a full screen for you. You can see YMCA Halloween Christmas Run, fully virtual, Idaho's Food Bank Empty Bowls event, fully virtual, and canceled events. St. Alphonsus, really popular Festival of the Trees, canceled. Downtown Boise, tree lighting is not open to the public for tree lighting. So they're definitely pivoting, and I think last year many of them did go virtual. They kind of had that trial run and success successful trial run, if you will, to help them make the decision of what to do this year, and it seems to be the same, virtual.
So it seems it'll be pretty similar to last year, and I know that there was disappointment there, but we hear from the organizers, they're doing their best to make even the virtual events the best they can.
Yeah, and they want to do this year so that we can go fully in person next year.
Okay, that's the goal and the hope. Kati will keep an eye on it. Thank you, and we're going to step away, but we'll be back right after this. The state's largest school district is asking voters to approve a $28 million levy on Election Day. So what would all that money go towards? Have more election-related questions for us that you want us to look into? Shoot us a text message right now. The number's on your screen, 208-321-5614. Just make sure to include your name and the hashtag the 208. If we don't answer your question at the end of the show, stay tuned. We may bring it up later this week. General election is right around the corner. It's actually the first week of November, November 2nd to be exact. Mark that on your calendar. And some folks in the West Ada School District zone will notice a levy on their ballot this time around. West Ada is asking for $14 million a year for the next 2 years in that levy, but this isn't an increase per se, as this is a levy on the ballot to replace an expiring levy. Both of them go for $14 million per year for 2 years. And the West Ada Superintendent, Dr. Derek Bubb, talking about the levy tonight at the Meridian Town Hall. But first, our Andrew Bartline got a hold of the school district ahead of time. And Andrew, people care about money. They care about their tax dollars. They want to know where they're going. So the first question for you has to be, what could this levy cost taxpayers?
Yeah, Joe. West Ada spokesperson Char Jackson tells us this levy is no different than the one it's replacing. It's going to be a little over $46 a year per 100,000 in your evaluation. So looking at levy documents back to 2011, West Ada has had a supplementary levy of $14 million per year every year. That's for the past decade. And this money isn't for any luxury or any new toys. It's actually 5% of the school district's general budget. And the money is for paying salaries. West Ada says it's needed for basic school operations.
So I think the reality is that we could just look at cutting some school days, reducing staff days. So that's all things that we definitely don't want to look at doing if at all possible. We want to keep our class sizes small. We want to retain all of our staff. So it's just really important that we have that 5%. To continue to fund the current programs that we have in place that are doing so much good.
Is there any concern right now of that being a reality, that it doesn't pass and might be in a difficult situation financially and have to make some of those changes?
I think it's always a concern when we have to think about cutting, but here at West Ada, we've always done a lot with a little. So, we have a contingency plan. We will make appropriate cuts and do as little as possible to impact our staff and students.
Andrew, this is an interesting situation. It really sounds like the school district is heavily dependent on the levy, and I guess, would they be able to normal operate without it? I guess as Char was explaining there, it seems like this has major implications.
Yeah, in a sense, that's exactly right, Joe. As I mentioned, it's 5% of their general budget. So if it doesn't go through, they're going to have to make some changes. And 85% of their general budget is around salaries, things of that nature. So this levy is a big part of making their budget work, and it has been for the past decade. I even looked at West Ida's budget over the past 5 years, and while costs have gone up every year, this levy has remained the same at $14 million per year. Joe?
Well, it's very interesting to note. And then again, Andrew, voters in the West Ada zone, they'll get to decide their own fate on this one. You can find it on your ballot on November 2nd. If you have any questions about the West Ada ballot or your ballot at home, just go right now to ktvb.com. We have a fresh voter guide up ready to read. We're going to step aside. We'll be right back. He was the first to flop, but in a really good way. Did you know that a current Idahoan very literally changed how the world approaches an Olympic event? And they called it a flop. On the anniversary of his gold medal winning performance at the 1968 Mexico City Summer Games, we're hitting the archives to celebrate Dick Fosbury. Something else we should be celebrating? Maybe an intergalactic holiday we don't know about? Text us about that or really anything. 208-321-5614. Just be sure to include your name in the hashtag the 208. You never know, you could see your comments on the screen at the end of the show.
Planter Park looked magical, didn't it? Great time of year. And you're going to be able to see something special tonight if you didn't happen to glance up and see it last night. The clouds are thinning away and you'll be able to see the big bright Hunter's moon, the full moon, rising tonight a little after 7 o'clock after the sun sets. Now last night it was mostly full, almost full, you can't really tell the difference, and it got up above what clouds there were last night. Pretty bright, like a spotlight up in the sky. Meanwhile today, temperatures made it up to almost 70 degrees in many parts of the valley. It did hit 70 in Nampa and Ontario, a very mild October day, mid-60s over in the Magic Valley and 50s in the mountains. Enjoy one more day like this, maybe a little warmer tomorrow, but then this huge change is coming in our weather pattern. A deep low pressure trough, several little disturbances out in the Pacific, and a river of moisture coming our way starting this weekend and lasting on through next week. So this morning's system that brought the clouds to us has pivoted on up into northern Idaho, a break for tomorrow, and then we start this series of systems on Friday, lasting into next week with significant valley rain and mountain snow coming our way. By Friday afternoon, about 4 o'clock or so, we should start to see the rain showers moving in, continuing through the evening, and then some snow in the mountains, breaking up a little bit early Saturday before the next system moves in Saturday night and keeps us wet right on through early next week. So 73 degrees tomorrow, breezy and a few showers by tomorrow afternoon, but still mild in the upper 60s on Friday. Saturday and Sunday, we cool down to the mid 50s, widespread rain showers Saturday. Sunday and Monday look like the wettest days, up to a ½ inch to an inch possible in the valleys, and snow in the mountains above 5,000 feet on through next week. Scattered showers remain in the valleys. Mountains could see significant snow, but hey, we need the rain.
Technically, he's a native Oregonian, born in Portland, raised in Medford, but because he has spent so much of his adult life in Idaho, today we're claiming him as his own on the 53rd anniversary of his gold medal winning performance at the 1968 Mexico City Summer Games. On October 20th, 1968, Dick Fosbury introduced the world to what's now known as the Fosbury Flop. And the name may not sound familiar, but if you know anything about the high jump, you've known these athletes do the Fosbury Flop. Now, the man affectionately known as Foz now lives in Sun Valley. He's actually the chairman of the Blaine County Commissioners up there. And in 2016, as the Rio Summer Olympics are heating up, our very own Mark Johnson went up to Sun Valley to learn more about how Fosbury became an international superstar by changing the game, the entire game of high jumping.
It would take a few years for the Fosbury Flop to catch on from its humble beginnings in the mid-60s at Medford High. But when Dick Fosbury started flying higher than anyone else, the world started to notice.
1968 was a breakthrough where I went from, the top 50 in the United States to #1 in the world.
7 feet 4 inches. That was the height he needed to clear in Mexico City to win the gold medal. It wasn't a world record, but it was an Olympic and national record, and it was pure gold.
I didn't know how I did it, I just knew I got there. And then landing in the pit, and coming out celebrating, and the stadium was going crazy.
A life-changing moment for a man who would become the sports ambassador, and still is. These days, Dick Fosbury spends his time helping develop young talent at high jump camps around the country.
Run and jump, and then hit your landing.
And he spends as much time as he can around his neighboring track team at Wood River High. His legendary status in the sport not lost on the young men and women 50 years his junior.
When you're doing the Fosbury Flop and then all of a sudden Dick Fosbury flies into the track, you're going, is this the guy? So I think most of them kind of figure that out.
I love working with kids, and we've got the Simplot Games track camp, so it's great for the state of Idaho.
Again, fun fact, Dick Fosbury is a Blaine County Commissioner these days, and he has been since 2019. In the year 2018, Oregon State, his alma mater, they unveiled a statue of him to celebrate the 50th anniversary of his gold medal. Fosbury was inducted into the Olympic Hall of Fame in 1992 and was the first recipient of the Idaho Sports Humanitarian Award. If you haven't tried the Fosbury Flop, give it at least a shot. Maybe not today, and make sure you have something soft to land on, but it's something everyone should try once, right? Okie doke, folks, here's your reminder that we're not just on your television. Oh no, we're also all over social media and your social networks, so you can connect with us after hours. Hashtag 208 After Dark. Facebook, Instagram, Twitter. You see it on your screen. Send us whatever you want. You can also call and leave us a voicemail because we love how much you guys send us the voicemails, and we love to replay them for you. And of course, if you miss any of the 208 shows, you can catch them on our YouTube page almost immediately after the show ends. But you know how we end the show. Let's get some comments here. This one says, can we stop talking about COVID already? That was so 2019. We are almost at the end of 2021. Let's talk about something better. Frankly, I wish we could stop talking about it. No one wants to talk about it anymore. We've had enough. But the harsh reality, the true reality, it's still with us. It's still affecting our community greatly. Trust me, we would love to stop talking about it. This person says, whatever happened to Brian Holmes? Well, Brian Holmes is a really great basketball player, so I hear that he was trying out for the Brooklyn... Oh, what's this? I'm getting an update in my ear from producer Mo, the Basset Hound. I'm told Brian Holmes did not make the Nets and may be joining us here in Boise tomorrow. Is that right, Mo? Okay. Well, Basset Hound Mo says Brian could be joining us here tomorrow. The only way you'll know for sure is if you join us tomorrow, right before 5 o'clock here on the 208. Thanks for joining us. Make sure you take care of yourself and each other. We'll see you tomorrow.